This is Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars with Stephen Fennick and Trevor Long. Thanks to NRMA Insurance and Uniden.
That's them, NRMA Insurance, helping protect the most valuable things to Australians for almost 100 years. NRMA Insurance is also one of the largest insurers of electric vehicles in Australia. And Stephen, Uniden smart dash cams as well, because
absolutely,
if you've got a car,
protect your
put a
EV.
dash cam on it.
Yeah, front and back. It's a great way to prove your side of the story. If you do come into some sort of incident,
we don't wish harm upon you or your vehicle, but gee whiz.
Also works while parked too.
Yes.
Protects your car even when you're not driving.
Have parking mode, install the hardwire kit, get it all happening. It's a great company, great dash cams, and there's plenty on the market for whatever budget you are in. Now, Stephen, we're back. We're back at home.
We're back, baby.
I've got teeth. It's just unbelievable. It's a whole new I can talk normally.
Trevor's not talking like this anymore. He's actually got a tooth in there, Trevor. Is this your debut with the tooth or what? Your podcast debut. You've been on
this
TV.
podcast recording is, but it will have been on. There will be other podcasts published before this one,
of course,
that will have established that. So moving on for our EV audience, great to have my company. We're back from South Carolina now. I said this. I think last week when we were in, or 2 weeks ago when we were away. When I got the call from Nick at BMW, he said, mate, we'd love you and Stephen to come to Spartanburg. I went, Germany, let's go. And then he goes, South Carolina. Okay, right. That's interesting. I was so put off. I'd never heard of Spartanburg. Had you?
No.
No, you've never been to South Carolina,
I've never been to South Carolina. I've heard of South Carolina, but never been there.
Beautiful area.
Yeah, lovely.
I got to tell you, I'd move there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Be cool.
I'd move to the area we were at because to me it's beautiful, it's open, leafy area and everything.
Very green.
Open. There's probably big properties you could have and everything. But there's also lots of airports. So it's easy to get out when you need to.
There's one in Greenville and there's, I think, an hour and a half to Charlotte. We flew in
from Greenville, you could fly to New York and San Francisco.
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
I live near an airport already, mate. Well, it's all good.
Okay, smart ass. I'm talking about if we made the progression to live in America.
Okay.
Would you move with me?
No.
Okay, wow, there it is.
No.
Just official.
Would you say your whole family or just yourself?
Obviously it depends on my family circumstances, but I think it'd be a tough to get them to come with me.
It'd be a tough sell.
Probably need to
You'd be flying
empty
solo
nest the kids first and convince the wife. But
maybe.
Anyway, we were in broadly Spartanburg. Spartanburg is where the BMW plant is. It's 30 years old. We were there on the very day
it opened.
30 years since the opening, not 30 years since the first car was produced.
Since the big, they had a big function, big opening
ceremonial opening. But this plant has produced everything from the Z series cars to the 3 Series when it first opened. And today it produces the X3, X4, X6, X7,
X5,
and the
6, 7, and the
XM for the world. Yep. So these cars, when you buy a BMW X5 in Australia, it comes from Spartanburg, South Carolina.
They make left and right-hand drive. And
it's a fascinating place, and there's many reasons we went there, and much of that will become obvious over the months ahead, including at CES.
There's a few things we can't talk about right
when we cover that in January on both Two Blokes Talking Tech and the Electric Car Show. So look, there's a lot to cover in the future, but one of the things we can talk about today, because we're not under any embargo such, is essentially the manufacturing. Now, let's be clear, it's currently a petrol diesel car plant.
Yes.
But they are transitioning to be a plant that can produce anything. And it's a fascinating thing to see because to see cars roll down a production line is pretty cool.
It's amazing.
To see, the body come up. We didn't go to the paint shop to see it go through paint and everything, but to see the body come out and for the doors to come on and the dashboard to go in and then the marriage of the chassis, the wheels, the engine to the car is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's happening in real time. They're still producing cars while building out these bigger parts of the factory. It's one big building essentially, and they're building extra parts. And what they do is, if you imagine a car production line is a circle, and then with that circle they build a new part of the factory, they just go, we'll go out a little bit, so we go around.
They call it a finger.
They call them fingers. Yeah. So if you imagine a circle, it starts as a circle, and then it could essentially grow out to have many fingers.
Yes.
And that just extends the length of the production lines and allows them to do more things on there.
But being a German company, they're all about efficiency.
Oh, yeah.
And one thing that they said to us, so sort of a bit of the mantra of theirs, is they're performing while transforming. So there's still building going on all around them.
Which
and there is still
in English
production.
Is working while building.
Keep going.
We're still building, and we're still working. But what's fascinating is they're so close. We were there at a point they were so close to finishing the kind of extensions in several fingers of extension.
Yep.
That they also had some chassis there that were going to be the test models for their electric vehicle expansion. Yeah. So this is what blows my mind is you'll go to many factories, and so some companies will build a car down a production line. Yeah. But BMW, any car that comes past on this production line could be any one of those models, 3, 4, 7, whatever.
Yep.
But also it could be diesel, it could be petrol, it could be left-hand drive, it could be right-hand drive, it could be blue, it could be white, it could be whatever. And in a short while, it could be electric. So they're not building a new factory for the cars. They're just building all the cars in one place.
Well, they are working on the factory to build the batteries.
We'll get to that. But I'm talking about the car assembly factory. Yep. It could be that one moment an electric car comes down, the next car could be petrol, the next car could be diesel, then 2 electrics. Yeah. So it's going to be one factory for all.
They're equipped to do ICE, plug-in hybrids, and EVs.
Yeah.
In this one facility. A few stats about the place. Yeah. It is the square meters of the factory. It was opened 30 years ago, 745,000 square meters.
Big.
That's big. They've invested more than $13 billion since they broke ground in 1992. And they also, to date, they've produced more than 6.5 million BMWs have been assembled in Plant Spartanburg.
Yep.
60% shipped to more than 120 countries.
So
as well.
Cool.
Yeah. First car off the site rolled off the line in September 94. The first X model, which is what they're currently building now, in 1999.
Yeah, very cool. And so you mentioned the battery factory, just 25 kilometres away, they're building a battery factory. Now, car batteries are not like your AA's or your CR2032s, right? But they are assembled as a bulk of those. So they're actually getting batteries from someone else. And those batteries are cells. Let's call them AA's, right? But they're bigger than those, but they're cells. So you think of them like a battery you might have. And they get all of those batteries and they get assembled together into bigger cells. So you create a bunch of cells and you put all those together into bigger batteries, and those are going to be the batteries that will then be shipped up to the plant Spartanburg and be the batteries for electric cars.
Yeah, the place they're building is in nearby Woodruff. It's $700 million. And the research and development, they've just produced their 6th generation of EV battery technology. They've been at it a little while. And this 6th generation battery technology offers a 30% improvement in range, 30% faster charging, and an energy density increase of 20%.
So basically, in the same space they're fitting more kilowatts of battery storage. In the same amount of battery storage, they're able to get you more range. And so this is a critical thing. And look, I think electric car owners should know this, right? And I tell myself this regularly, right? I've got a beautiful EV9, which has over 500 kilometres range. I love it. It is fact that if I was to hold on to that for 10 years, because I'm not actually convinced that I'd get rid of it and get another one, I don't know how my financial position will be. So I might hold on to it for 10 years, right?
Yep.
I need to accept that in that period of time, Kia will probably come out with an EV9 in 4 years that has 700 k's range. Yeah. And then down the track, there might be 1,000. So that stuff is going to increase and improve just exponentially over the next kind of 10 years. So just be aware of that when you're buying a car today. It will be superseded not just by a newer model, but by far more advanced statistics, and that's a good thing for the market.
Just think about over all the tech we've covered, all the speed of the processors and capacity, and all the improvements we've seen just in a short space of time.
Oh yeah.
That you can kind of apply that same level of advancement to EV batteries and their performance.
For me, what I took out of the Spartanburg tour was not just how overwhelming and huge it is, but the fact that this company can go, we're ready for anything. And do you remember we spoke to, and I forgive me, I don't remember his name, but we spoke to someone from BMW Australia about their planning, right? Yep. And how they essentially approach the future of cars in Australia. It was Brendan Michael from Head of Product for BMW Australia. We spoke to him back in June. If you want to go back through the episodes, this is a really re-listenable show for people that have joined us late. You can go back and learn more and hear more.
Evergreen.
But one of the things I remember about Brendan saying was they're not dictating what's next. They're not saying next year we're going to sell this many EVs. They're just saying, hey, we've got all these models.
Yeah.
And there's a beautiful sedan there that's an EV or a petrol. You can choose the model. Yep. And so they're saying, let's see what comes through the door. So Spartanburg to me is an example of if Australia US, South Africa, whoever it is, goes really hard on electric cars, then they just turn the dial.
Yeah, they seem to be nimble enough to be able to do that. That's what
They
the
just
impression
need to
I
bring
got.
more batteries in.
Yeah, that's the
Because you
impression
remember,
I got. Yeah.
you order a car, and they said to us that, let's say you order a
you can
BMW
change your mind.
X3,
Yeah.
7 days before it goes into actual production, you can change almost everything about the car, the colour, the trim, everything, because that's how late they essentially bring in the parts. It's called just-in-time manufacturing.
Yeah. And just again,
it was awesome.
Reflects the efficiency they've got there, and they've been at it a while. They're getting pretty good at it.
Yeah, and look, there's something else I've heard people say about BMW having a factory in America. Every car company has factories all around the world.
Yeah.
These are still German cars. They're designed, engineered, and the factory concepts, the way they do things is all based on the German manufacturing standard.
And
so you still get a German car.
All the engines are also all built in Germany.
Yeah.
And shipped to Spartanburg.
I don't know about the motors for the electric cars, though.
The engines for the petrol cars
yes.
are. Maybe that might be as well. But you're right. It is. There's more than 11,000 people work at this plant, by the way, and it's in one of those states where I think our Uber driver said to us, he goes, if it wasn't for them, this town wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So I think them and Michelin was the other big company in town.
Yeah.
This it just seems to me they've built a really a nice relationship with the government and the community, and a lot of employees that live nearby work there as well.
Yeah.
And it's very much in the red as well. It's a very Trump won the state in a landslide, as he did.
You know what?
It
works for them as well because they're building in America.
Well, it's basically exactly the sort of typical of the states that he swept were these factory towns where people rely on these towns for their very livelihood. And so if you know your candidate's going to protect that at all costs, then they're going to get your vote.
If you're interested in cars at all, generally, it's a really cool thing to see. I've written an article, Stephen's written an article. So if you want to have a look at EFTM.com or techguide.com.au, you can see all the photos, video about our tours and what we saw at Plant Spartanburg BMW. We travelled there as a guest of BMW Australia, and it was awesome. I really appreciated it. Yeah. And we saw a lot of other things that are very cool.
Stay tuned.
That we can talk about maybe down the track, both here on Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars and, of course, on our other show, Two Blokes Talking Tech. So stay tuned for more of that over the time ahead here on the show. BMW details, as I said, techguide.com to EFTM.com. Let's keep cracking along with this show and your calls here on Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. It is nice to be back in the studio because I like to see you dance.
That was a Trump dance, mate. That's just caught on. It's become a sensation, the Trump dance. Have you seen that?
Oh, were you
that?
No, I don't think that was.
It was Trump.
Oh, yeah, it was a little bit.
Yeah,
okay,
it was the Trump
all right,
dance.
I'll give you that.
Yeah. You see, you watch some sport, some
A lot of people
celebrations.
do, the tries, touchdown celebrations.
They're doing a lot of Trump dancing. Yeah.
Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. We'd love to hear from you if you've got an EV or you're planning to buy an EV, wherever you are in your EV journey. We don't mind. We're happy to be part of it. And you can get in touch with us on 0477 657 657. Jeremy did that, and he's on the line. G'day, Jeremy. How you doing?
Yeah, g'day, boys. How you going?
Really good, mate. What have you got, and how's it been going for you?
Mate, I've recently bought an EV9, GT9.
Straight out of Trevor's handbook there, mate.
And incredibly happy with it. It's It is next level. We also have a Y that we've had for a while.
A Toad.
Toad as well as a...
Well, I don't call it a Toad. I was about to say, but I don't resent that. It does.
It's
affectionately.
We affectionately refer to it as a Toad.
Yeah. It is a bit funny. Look, we would have bought a 3, but we got 2 little girls, so we needed the space.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Hence the Y.
Okay.
But not happy with that as well.
What did you come out of? What was if you had a Y? What was the other car before you got rid of the EV9? And talk me through the thought process of going to your second EV, because I think that's a monumental step for any EV owner.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, look, mate, I'm a bit of an EV nuffy. I've been sort of hammering all my friends and everyone I know about these things for years. I've got a line marking company, and we mainly sort of run utes. So I've got a few diesel utes, and I had my personal car was like a X-Class Mercedes dual cab.
Oh,
yeah.
And because of the lack of EVs we've got in this country, I sort of couldn't really justify buying anything. I didn't want to buy a hybrid.
Yep.
And the EV9 could tow. So having said that, I haven't got the tow bar on it yet, but that was the justification for it. I thought I can get a 7-seater, it can tow. If I need to move a trailer, things like that. That was the main reason. Okay. A big part of the reason was I took it for a drive, and then I didn't want to give it back.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
So just to be clear, Jeremy, you had the Model Y first, and then you got the EV9. Is that how it worked, or the other way around?
Yeah, we did. We my wife and I both owned businesses, but we were both reps before that. Uh-huh. So we didn't own a car for probably 15 years. We had a company car each.
Yep.
So we were given we drove what we were given. And then when it was time to buy a personal vehicle, that was an easy choice. Okay. I was well bought into the idea of EVs, and that was sort of, at the time, it seemed there wasn't much option in SA. Yeah. There probably was, but I didn't really look too hard.
Okay.
But yeah, I think the same thing. Took it for a drive and fell in love, and that was an easy one.
And you've actually taken it on quite a journey, haven't you? So it was you just jumped straight into the deep end. And where did you drive from? Was it from Adelaide? Where did you end up?
Mate, I played cricket. We played the Nationals in Newcastle.
Oh,
wow!
And yeah, look, mate, there was zero thought really. I sort of did a bit of a route planner.
Yep.
And we don't normally charge. We just plug in. We've got a couple of points here. Plug in. Never really have to public charge. Yeah. But I thought, how hard can it be? And that's pretty much it. And because we're so busy, the trip came up a lot quicker than I thought. We jumped in and thought it'd be easy as. It wasn't exactly that. Okay. But yeah, it's a long way. It was a long way.
So what was your observation though? You're pretty new to charging. What were your observations on the journey? Did you think it was better, worse, same as you expected? What did you think?
Oh, look, definitely worse. And again, I don't want to say anything negative, but I realised it was sort of over the border, like charging. I think we charged at Pinaroo. That was easy. That was 120 kilowatts. Yeah. And then I think it was Oyen was the next stop, and we hit our first sort of 50 kilowatt charger. Right. And I was like, that's the time when you go, okay, you have to sort of wait.
When you hit those 50s, and again, I've said this in other shows, and I've said it, I think, to people like ChargeFox. The problem with 50 kilowatt chargers and anything lower, frankly, is that it is just not delivering what you need today. It might have been okay when you had a Hyundai Ioniq 5 or the original Ioniq that had a small battery. But nowadays, mate, you've got a 100 kilowatt battery to charge. That is taking forever on a 50 kilowatt.
Yeah, exactly.
And which is why, like I said to Jackson, my son took my Cupra and for a drive up Port Macquarie. And I said to him, mate, honestly, just go to the Tesla chargers, buddy, because they're always fastest. Yeah. On that journey, I'm curious, because you're a Tesla owner, so you'd be familiar with the Tesla chargers. Did you do your research about which Tesla chargers you could and couldn't use?
No, short answer. So the next step, just back on the Oyen, I did find out there's actually a 120 kilowatt around the corner that I didn't see, but I saw that on the way back. But I think the next stop was Hay. Yep. And I had that in the route planner. Tesla supercharger, happy days. That won't take us long. Got there, couldn't use it. No. It is enabled for non-Teslas, and there's a QR code. But all the QR code does is take you to your Tesla app. But once you're in there, I couldn't see where to lodge another vehicle or do anything there. So
hang on, this is fascinating because so you're saying the Hay supercharger is open to non-Teslas, but you own a Tesla. So your Tesla app, see, when I open the Tesla app, I get an option to charge a non-Tesla. Charge your EV.
Right.
Whereas your Tesla app
to your Tesla
is going, dude, this is your car.
Where's your Tesla?
Where's your Tesla?
So how's that? So the Tesla app assumes that you only own a Tesla if you're charging a vehicle.
I guess so, unless it was something I missed. But we stuffed around there for a while.
You may need to start another account maybe in your. Does your wife have an account with Tesla too?
You'd have to sign in and out of the app.
That way they'll be able to access the other charger.
But what a pain in the ass.
Or just not drive to Newcastle again. But yeah, no, you're right.
There's that option too, mate. Yeah.
So we ended up there's a little charger in Hay. I think it was an NRMA one, and that's again I think that was a 50 watt.
Yes.
But you can only charge to 80%. So we ended up spending a lot longer in Hay than we wanted to. Right.
There is a button on those NRMA chargers that allows you to push the button to go 80 or max Sometimes you need to
okay.
push that to then enable it to go further.
At that stage, I just didn't want to touch it. I wanted it to
work.
I just wanted to make sure we got enough charge to get to Wagga. But because of that, we were sort of driving, Hay Plain, dusk. You couldn't get a better or worse scenario for driving that car.
Jeremy, I understand, wasn't with your missus, was with your mate, wasn't it? The drive to play cricket.
Yeah, it was.
So what was his? What was he thinking?
Narc.
He's thinking, "Get me out of here."
Mate.
What was his thoughts about EVs?
Pretty much. I played it up as, this will be easy. It'll cost us bugger all. Let's get it. And mate, for the first few hundred kilometres, he was wrapped. He was he hadn't been in an EV before, so he loved the speed. He loved everything else. And but when we started waiting, and especially after that sort of Hay, when we started waiting for proper time at Hay, it was he sort of started time crunching.
Yeah, because an EV9, if you're down to 20 or 30% and you want to get to even 80, let alone 100 at 50 kilowatt, that's a long time waiting. You're talking hour and a half times kind of waiting or more potentially. Whereas if it's 120, 150 kilowatt, you might be there for 40 minutes to get to 100%. So this just shows how critical it is that we essentially move on quickly as a country from the 50 kilowatt chargers. That we support the infrastructure at higher charge rates. And, I think, obviously you're somewhat unique. There'd be others, but you are unique in that you own a Tesla, so the Tesla app, it's not like we can really criticize them, but it's a good bit of feedback, I think, for Tesla, that if you own a Tesla and you want to charge a non-Tesla, there'll be someone listening, and if you are listening and you know how to do this, if it's in the app, let us know. We'll definitely talk about it because there might be a button or something in the app, but You need a second account that you can sign in and out of to charge the car.
But it's funny, but your mate who was a possible convert, when
you
turned him off. He's a
hard no now, Jesus.
Wow. Yeah, I did, unfortunately. And it's sort of, and it got worse as far as when we got to Newcastle, the motel we're staying in had Tesla chargers like we do at home, like the wall units.
Yeah.
But they didn't know how to use them if they weren't a Tesla.
Oh,
so
they were just like destination chargers.
They only work with Teslas.
Yeah, spot on.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You've done everything.
And they were a bit, and they were not well versed in EVs, I think. So I was trying to drive around Newcastle looking for a charger, and everything in the app either wasn't there or wasn't in service. And I ended up finding something in a BP servo, which is right out the back with unlit, sort of like uncared for, and spent a couple of hours charging that.
Oh, dear God.
I've got one other question, Jeremy. You mentioned that you've got a line marking ute. Is that right? You sort of is that your business? Line marking.
Is that business? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you ever seen that Seinfeld episode where Kramer's changing the road? Remember? Have you seen that episode where he's changing the line?
He rubs out one of the lines and gets rid of one of the lanes.
I don't. I'm a massive Seinfeld fan, but I don't remember that episode.
Oh, he buys a section. He adopts a section of the freeway,
highway,
and he decides to paint out some line markings to make the lanes wider. Yeah,
I'll have to check it out.
You got to watch that one, mate.
That is unbelievable. Now, just quickly before we go, Care EV9, you said you drove it and you didn't want to give it back. Leaving aside this trip, because that's a whole other conundrum that I think is not the car. It's more about the charging infrastructure, and also with respect to your own research in advance, which shouldn't be required, but obviously it is these days still.
Sure.
What's your feedback on the EV9 as an owner? How long you had it, and what's your feedback?
I reckon I've had it 4 months now.
Oh, wow.
And look, I can't fault it. I guess it's the only criticism would probably be the nags.
Yeah.
Like depending how far I go, I sort of start with a fingerprint, and then I'll get rid of the speed bonger, whatever that's.
Yep. Speed alerts.
And then I'll get rid of the lane nag. Yep. So it's a bit of a process, but it's not the end of it all. The Tesla doesn't have that. The Tesla sort of just remembers you are, and I think it's funny with the regen. It's almost ironic. It's not as safe because I have it on full iPedal generally, but when you start it up, it's not on iPedal. So if you're not thinking and you're expecting the car to stop straight away. It doesn't start on that max setting.
It really, and having two EVs, that's a really fascinating thing because I have the Cupra, which doesn't have full iPedal, and if I don't put it into B mode, which gives you regen, I'm like, wow, this car is driving away from me because it's not regenning. And when I got in I hired a Volvo in the States. I'm driving and I'm at the lights, take my foot off, and the thing just goes away. I'm like, whoa, my car's normally stopped. So little things that play with your mind. But I'm like you in the EV9. I have a startup process. So, and that Jackson or Harry noticed this the other day. We're all our families in the car. I get in, I'm fingerprint, and then I'm holding the mute button to turn off the nag, and then we go. It's like I want to do these things before I'm on the road.
So is that like a little shortcut to turn off that little?
Yeah, you push and hold the mute button. It turns off the speed sign alert, which means that when
But
you're
only
going
lasts for that
43,
drive,
it only lasts for that drive.
Right. Okay.
And that's an ANCAP
Okay,
thing.
mate, you're teaching me something now because I had it when I bought it on the star button. On the star button took me straight to that speed thing, but then somehow that jumped off, so I'll have to go through the menu.
So they did a software update to the EV9, and you don't need to go into any menus anymore. You just need to push and hold the mute button, and it turns off the speed alert. It's the only nag it turns off, but that's the most common one. You go on 53 in a 50 zone, you don't want to be nagged about it.
Exactly.
Well,
sorry,
last question. What colour did you get?
Black.
Yeah, mate.
Ooh,
Hello.
nice. Is that
Tint the
the
hell
same
out of
as
the
yours?
windows, mate.
Same as yours, yeah.
I did. I mean, the back ones are nice and dark, but I did get the proper tinting, and I even went to paint protection because previously I've just gone, it's bollocks. But
You just paid
spoke to a
$100
few
grand for a
people,
car,
and
mate. Pay for paint protection.
yeah, mate, and it is worth the money. I must admit, the stuff just nothing sticks to it. It comes off. It's
Nice.
I'm really happy with that.
Well done, mate. Thanks for getting in touch. And if we hear anything from anyone else, 0477 657 657, if you're a Tesla owner with a non-Tesla and the app is usable, let us know.
We want to know. Yeah.
Good on you,
Keep up
Jeremy.
the great work, boys.
Thanks, mate. Cheers, buddy.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks
on
for
you.
getting in touch.
See you guys.
What a legend. I mean, he's a legend because he owns an EV9.
There you have it, mate. See, hey?
The best
Good
people in the
taste.
world own EV9. It's
Good
great taste.
Yeah. But the interesting about the Tesla app and assuming that it's his
never
other
thought
Tesla.
of it.
Yeah.
And I
There should
feel
be a
for
way
Jeremy
around
because,
that.
And I don't know if I said this to you last week, but, I came up because I travel with Jackson, who's a celiac, and got to find gluten-free. Being a celiac is like being an electric vehicle owner. You've got to think about everything before you do it. You've got to plan every meal.
Yes.
Jeremy didn't plan his trip. Now, in the defense of Jeremy and his mate, he shouldn't have had to because he's just about to get on the road and drive.
Yeah.
But we are a long way away.
He said she
from a
thought
time.
she'll be right.
Yes, we're a long way away from a time when you can just get on the road.
He went from Adelaide to Newcastle.
Yeah.
That's a long drive.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he would have been okay broadly if that Tesla thing had worked because, fully charged, he would have gone to Wagga or Griffith fully charged, and then Yass fully charged, and then Newcastle fully charged, or just using Tesla chargers. So that I think would have made a massive difference to the trip.
I thought he would have travelled sort of through the western part of New South Wales there, sort of through the middle.
No, you come up.
You come up. Right. Because out there, I don't know how
Hayes
well
pretty
the
well
charging
western,
infrastructure.
mate. Hayes pretty well western. Yeah, that's in the middle of friggin' nowhere.
All right.
All right, 0477 657 657. If you want to chat about electric cars, we'd love to talk to you. Actually,
That's
you're
one
right.
of my favourites.
That
That's a
music,
favourite.
I think you talked about it last week.
Yeah.
That music is more Trump-like because it's got a staccato kind of beat. How do we know these
Listen to us
words?
music critics.
Staccato. How do I even know that word?
What does that mean?
What am I doing? What's happened to my head? Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. Great to have your company. Great to talk electric cars. And you know what? I will say this. I love the feedback we get about this show.
Yeah, it's good.
Genuinely, we get lots of little feedback. Well, some of the guests we have on are very generous with their sharing on LinkedIn and stuff like that. And also, I think the way they describe what we do is awesome. And I think my favourite thing, not just talking electric cars, is the fact that we're talking to real people.
Exactly.
And I don't believe
educating people
there's
too.
anyone else doing this in
Cutting
Australia.
through the jargon. Is what
Cutting
we're
through the
trying.
jargon, giving you answers.
That's it. Yep.
Anyway, 0477 657 657 if you want answers about electric cars. There's a lot of other
Whether
questions.
you've just bought one,
we
thinking
can't
of
answer.
buying one, hate them. We'll
How the hell do you charge them?
We'll hear from everyone.
And the other thing that we're very proud of and we'll continue to do on the show is be open, genuine, and honest about our experiences, your experiences.
Oh yeah, we don't sugarcoat anything.
If we sugarcoat and pretend, we give the wrong impression of electric cars to people, and that's not what we want.
We talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh, that was harsh. I felt seen and pointed at. If you're watching the video version, he pointed at me.
Yeah.
That's bullying. 0477 657 657. I don't claim
Go to HR.
genuine
mate.
bullying.
Go to HR. if you're not happy.
Two Blokes HR department. David's on the line. G'day, David.
Hello. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you?
Yeah, really good,
mate.
buddy. What are we driving?
I'm in a Tesla Y.
Dude!
Exactly.
The Toad, eh?
I hate nicknames, but yeah, I know that's what you like to call it.
So you don't like that name? Is that what you're telling us? Or you know, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, mate, we think.
Exactly. I mean, I think you use it in a good reference
we affectionately call it the Toad.
It's
mate.
surprising to me no one said, mate, you look like a toad. I mean, Fennigan, I'm a fat,
Meaning
ugly
Trevor.
bloke. You could Fennigan hammer me pretty quickly back. So I respect people's opinions. We're just having some fun. David, what's your experience with how long you had it and how you're charging it?
I've had it for 12 months now. I've got it on a lease plan with work, so get the FBT benefits and everything. So I got it by accident pretty much because I rang my... I've got an EV by accident because I rang my lease plan company up and said, oh, look, my lease is running out in May. That was May of this year. This was back in the middle of last year. I said, what do I need to do to arrange a new car? And I had a Toyota RAV4. And they said, well, there's an 18-month wait. You should have ordered that when you picked up the new one. And then he said, have you thought about an EV because of the FBT benefits and everything like that? So that started the journey. And he recommended the Tesla. And so I went down. I work at Adelaide Airport, and Tesla have their test drive facility down there. Oh, yeah. And me and the wife jumped in it. And as everyone says to you, the moment you put your foot on the accelerator, you've sold. It's bought.
Yeah, so you had me at hello. They call that. So this is your vehicle. Your wife drives it too, or is it just yours?
No, I pretty much drive it, but she's just changed jobs, and now we're arguing over who gets it. So.
You might buy another one, mate.
I was just going to say, mate, just is there consideration? Do you have a second car in the family, or is that a bit off the radar just now?
We've got an old Ford Territory that my son drives, and he's about to buy a new one. So we are looking at options. So probably go with something a little less expensive than the Tesla, of course. But I think we're EV for life now because I love it. So it just works great. So we don't know what we'll get for a second car, but I did test drive the Toyota BZ4X. Did I get that right?
I don't know. I can't remember. It's a weird name, but Barry drives it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Is that the ad?
The EV, yeah.
We'll just call it the Barry. How's that? If you like your nickname.
I like it. Yeah, Barry. Yeah. So what do you think of that?
I like it. It's just a lot of your guys always say about the difference between a Tesla and the car they bought is that they went with a car that was a normal car, and that's what the Toyota is. It's got your dashboard and it's got buttons and everything like that. So, but it drove the same as the Tesla. It's electric. I loved it. So, but it's not one of the cheaper vehicles out there, obviously.
So, how did the transition go for you when you went into the Model Y for the first time? Did that take some getting used to? Because it is quite different, isn't it, to what you had before?
Yeah, well, driving, I reckon that takes you a couple of hours just to get used to the braking and everything like that. But you just don't look back. And then obviously I jump in a petrol vehicle at work, and you go, what's going on here? Why is it taking so long to accelerate? But no, I love that. And you asked for charging. I was fortunate with my my plan that I got 12 months free charging with EVNet. So that was 10,000 kilometres worth of free electricity essentially. So once a week, I drove down to my Bunnings where there's an EV there, plug it in. Normally took about an hour to get a full charge. So I put my headphones on, put my podcast in. I listen to these two guys that talk about movies all the time, and went for a walk. So I got my exercise in and got free charging.
So that's another good use of your time while you're charging.
I've also never heard of a charger at
Trevor
Bunnings.
prefers to eat when he's charging.
Yeah.
We prefer to eat, but in your case,
listen,
mate,
you know what? I charged this morning at Ampol at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And I got a text message when I was finished charging, and it said, "Thanks for charging with us. Here's a coupon for a free Mars bar." And I went, "What are you doing to me?"
What? They did. I use Ampol too. That ain't for me.
Mate,
free Mars bar.
the first time I got it was this morning.
What's going on
there?
there?
You might want to check that one out.
Wow.
So that's a great idea. That is a really great idea because, it's a 45-minute, maybe it's 30, maybe it's an hour. Go for a walk.
I've done that. I know there's a charger down at South Maroubra Beach, and there's also one near my house. So I think a 11 kilowatt. and I know it would take over an hour and a half to charge. And I've often done that, plugged it in and done a big walk with Joe and on my own sometimes. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, so that's been a good year experience for you. For someone that accidentally stumbled into EV ownership, it's worked out pretty good for you, mate.
Yeah, and so then I had to, obviously, October came around and the plan finished. I pretty much used 98% of it, so I was happy with that.
Well done, yeah.
And then, hang on a sec, what, I got to pay for my electricity now?
Yeah.
But no, I found 2 chargers near me, one at a shopping centre, which is across the road from my gym.
Yep.
It's 11 kilowatt. I go there, I've got to train 5 times a week, 4 to 5 times a week. So if I'm lucky, most times I get a spot. Yeah, sometimes you get there and they're full and you go, oh, I'll miss out today.
Yep.
But otherwise I go plug the car in at 11 kilowatts, come back after my gym workout, and I've got 30% extra battery.
Did you say you go to the gym 4 to 5 times a week? Is that what you said?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. So you get a lot of charging in then and a lot of exercise in.
As I said, I probably get maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I'll get on the charger, so that keeps the car going for the week.
Right. So you don't have a charger at home, or if you just use the granny charger at home?
Granny charger at home I've done once or twice, but then I figure why bother using 38 cents a kilowatt or even my solar power when I've got to park the car near the gym anyway. So
absolutely,
it's working.
And is that free then? Because it's slow, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a free charger. It's 11 kilowatts. As I said, I get about 30% each time I'm there. So, and that's doable. And then there's another park near me. So if I'm doing my morning walk, sometimes I'll jump in the car. It's a 5 to 10 minute drive. Park the car there. Put it on the free charger that's provided by the council. Again, that's an 11 kilowatt one. Yeah. And the same thing. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, nice. Good idea for the gym to have chargers near it, eh? That'd make me want to go to that gym.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't help me.
It wouldn't help, Trev.
Wouldn't help me. So that's life. But no, that's a really good experience. I love the fact that it's been a positive experience for you. Is there anything that over the course of the year, is there anything that you did a barbecue, you got the narcs, they're asking about electric cars. Is there anything that you don't share because you know it's a negative that is still needed in this kind of EV transition?
No, I tell them the positive outcomes of what I thought was a negative thing. So I had range anxiety when I drove to Melbourne a couple of months ago, and then I said, well, this is what I was feeling. And they go, yeah, well, that's what we thought. And then I said what the outcome was, and then they go, oh, well, okay. So I think it's what you guys are doing. It's about educating people about the difference. I mean, it's a different type of vehicle. It's a different mode of transport, and we all move from one thing to another in life, and we learn to adapt. So that's all we have to do, and make it work for you, which is what I've done for the free charging. And all you have to do is go into PlugShare, choose the filter for free chargers. You're guaranteed you're going to find one near you. I know Jolt, for example, they give you the first 7 kilowatts for free. So I'm not sure how long that is, but that would be a nice 20-minute walk. Done.
Absolutely.
Easy.
Yeah.
Good on you, David. That's awesome, mate. Thanks for getting in touch. Keep in touch, mate. Let us know if you end up getting a second car and anything else you learn that you want to share with other people. We're here to talk, and always happy to hear from you, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Absolutely love your work on all your shows, guys. I listen to them all, so thank you very much.
Thanks,
Good,
mate.
man. Thank you so much, David. That's really appreciated. Obviously, the movies is the one that he chooses when he's got that hour-long charging. Yeah, wow. But all the shows, if you're new to Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars, and shout out to the thousands of people that watched the BYD Shark episode on YouTube. Obviously, BYD Shark was strongly searched.
Yeah, right.
Like,
and we came up.
Huge numbers. And so if you are listening as a result of finding us through just the EV show, this is not our first rodeo. We've been doing the EV show now for a year.
Yeah.
But we've been doing Two Blokes Talking Tech for coming up to 14 years.
14 years.
The best movies you've never seen.
Some
coming up to 3 years.
Last that long.
Yeah, exactly. I got kids that are younger than that. We do a lot of podcasts. So just search for Two Blokes and you'll find us
Best
everywhere.
value podcast channel on the planet.
Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars.
Two blokes talking aerobics.
Aerobics.
It was like aerobics.
That was hardly aerobic.
Yeah.
I felt no exertion.
Got my heart rate up.
Yeah, I'm not wearing my Apple Watch. If I was, it would have said, hey.
Why aren't you wearing your watch? What's wrong?
I don't know.
Okay. Good answer.
I don't know.
Yeah. So
It's hot.
You can see the
It's
time.
hot. When, it's hot right
Too
now,
hot for
and
your
I'm
wrists.
not a fan of
You're a hot wrist man.
sweaty wrists.
Okay.
That's probably too much information for all of you.
Very much.
Great to have your company. Stephen,
it is.
great show. Lovely to hear from people.
Yes.
I genuinely...
Love hearing from real drivers,
Look,
real people, real customers.
I think both of us... I've been working in radio and talkback radio for my entire
You have not.
career.
Have you really?
But so I've always loved the idea of interacting with real people.
Yep.
And I think we do that as talkback. You do it on 2GB a lot, and you're talking to real people about tech. I believe it's such a great advantage for us to have that knowledge of what real people are thinking and saying and doing. You know,
Mate,
like you said it to one of our callers about BYD. It's like, we know this. We know the reputation because people call us about it. Like if we hadn't had so many calls about BYD, we wouldn't know their reputation.
Exactly right.
And look, we know what people think of Tesla. So that's why whatever you buy, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your experience. We want to know the ups and downs and all those kind of things.
Why you pulled the trigger.
Right here.
And why you haven't pulled the trigger as well.
If you're in the
A lot of
market,
people on the fence.
we want to help you.
Yeah.
And I've said before, happy to help if there's a brand that you're interested in. Send us a text, 0477 657 657. Helped a friend John get a great deal through my mate Aaron. Yep. Happy to try and get you a deal as well because I want to make it a positive experience.
Absolutely.
Not just owning, but buying an electric car. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. We'll see you again next time on Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars.